Welcome to the 1958 Lawyer, the show for attorneys who know the old model isn't working anymore. The billable hour, the 12-hour day, the expensive office no one visits. Your hosts, Ron and Rebecca Bockstahler, are here to question all of that and more by exploring smarter, healthier, more flexible ways to run a law firm. No more burnout, no more outdated expectations, just real conversations with attorneys who are proving there's a better way. If you're ready to build a law firm that's profitable and livable, you're in the right place. Now here are your hosts, Ron and Rebecca.
Welcome to the 1958 Lawyer, the podcast about the business of law. I'm your co-host, Ron Bockstahler, along with my new co-host, Rebecca Bockstahler. In 1958, the ABA published an article that sparked the birth of the billable hour, and the legal profession hasn't looked back since. This show is about what comes next. Each episode, we sit down with attorneys, business leaders, and the people who support them to talk honestly about what it takes to build a law practice that's not just successful, but sustainable. All right, let's get into it. Rebecca, HR director at a model office suites and a self-described people person. Since day one, she was the original visitologist at Amada's first general manager and has grown with the company ever since. She graduated from Indiana University, and after college, during a recession, was selected out of 500 applicants from a Fortune 500 manager trainee program, becoming the youngest person promoted to account manager in Chicago. And she's also my wife and mother of 5 of my children. Rebecca, welcome to the show. Great to have you as a co-host.
Thanks. It's fun to be here.
Today's show, we're going to introduce you to our listeners. So we're going to do a little question and answer with you. So you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right. You've been with Amada since the very beginning back in 2002, but you had a title that I've never heard anywhere else. You were original visitologist. For the listeners who are wondering what that even means, what exactly is a visitologist and how does someone get that job?
Well, someone gets that job by having a company where they get to pick their own titles. But I was the original general manager, or what we now call the general managers. And I felt like visitologists did a better job of explaining what I did because my job really was to go around and visit with our clients and find out about their firms, their businesses, visit with our team, and really just be the open line of communication for everyone. Take that information in, do with it what we needed to, but really build relationships. I was a relationship builder.
Okay. Go back to something we just said in the opening is you graduated during a recession. You were picked out of 500 applicants at a Fortune 500 company for a manager training program. How do you know that?
Because the person who hired me told me that.
Okay.
I think, yeah, it was a hard time to look for a job then. And it took me a few months to get some interviews going. But once I can meet with people, I usually do pretty well. You know, the resume up front may have taken a little work to get me in front of the people.
Okay. You actually did pretty good because you became the youngest account manager in Chicago at at that position. It sounds impressive, but you said the job had one big problem. What was it and why did you walk away from it?
I think the biggest problem was that it brought me away from the clients. I was managing multiple accounts. I was managing a lot of team members. And a lot of it happened from behind my desk, or when I was in the field, it was when I was dealing with some kind of a crisis. And at the end of the day, I do my best when I can build relationships all the time, not just in crisis mode. And I prefer not to be stuck where I can't be meeting with people all the time.
So you worked with law firms at your previous position?
I did. I managed. Yeah. I started, once I was out of the manager training program, I was really focused on law firms from the start. And then I trickled in a few corporate accounts. But yeah, I would say the majority of my time was spent in the legal field in support services.
So you have 40% of all law firms in the U.S. are solo practices. 75% employ 6 or fewer attorneys. That means most lawyers out there are basically running a small business alone, often with no HR, no support staff, and no one to talk to about the non-legal side of the work. That's the world you stepped into when you opened Amada's doors. How are you able to assist those attorneys?
Well, I think that I can share what we've done. I mean, when we started a company, when you start your own company, what you quickly learn if you're coming from a corporate position or a larger firm is that all of those phone calls you used to be able to make to IT, to HR, to, a sales rep who brings in supplies or the snacks for the conference room, whatever it is, um, those phone calls all go to yourself now because you don't have that support team. And so what we've learned over time is to kind of collect a core group of vendors that we trust and that we can work with and that we're comfortable referring our clients to. Um, and just our experiences of, how we went from it being you, me, Frank, and one employee that made us have to start with a payroll company because we needed to pay someone all of a sudden, to where we are now and the different changes that we've gone through as we've grown and what's worked and what hasn't worked.
What do you see as the biggest? Well, let's kind of back up. Like majority of our listeners are going to be solo practitioners, small firm
Mhm.
owners that deal with HR issues, but most of them have zero HR training. What's
Mhm.
the single most common HR mistake you see lawyers make when they start hiring?
I think that they probably just assume that there's never going to be an employee issue. And so, you do things that you think are based on good faith and goodwill. And then you learn that no good deed goes unpunished.
Well, forget that. The perfect company is a company with no employees.
I mean, sometimes it feels that
So,
way, but no, I disagree with that. But I think that it's important when you hire people that you understand the responsibility of that. I mean, my responsibility, yes, it's to take really good care of clients and to run a business and to hire people that can do that for us. But at the end of the day, I'm also responsible for the team in making sure that my benefits package is good, that I pay them on time, that I'm able to make pay, that what they give to us, we meet them with at the very least in trying to give back. I mean, it's
okay.
it's a real responsibility to be responsible for somebody else's livelihood.
Okay. Let's kind of move it along. I mean, I want attorneys that are listening to understand what they're going to get from you on the show all the time, which I think is going to be some
Yeah.
great stuff. You wear a lot of hats at Amada. You do HR, you work in the finance group, you have confidential operations, your leadership sounding board. On a random Tuesday, what does your day actually look like? Walk us through
On,
it.
on a random Tuesday, my day can look like anything. I can be taking phone calls from clients if um, they, sometimes people end up calling me. It can be for a phone concern, it can be for a billing concern. Um, I'm talking to team members constantly. I'm dealing with our vendors, specifically the HR vendors and some of our finance vendors. Um, and then I'm planning and I'm trying to create tools for our team to use that make their jobs more effective and more efficient and more fun, easier, right? Some more joyful for them. I'm trying to be creative in how I can do that. I'm trying to come up with different business plans. It's across the gamut. There's
Right.
no regular Tuesday.
Okay. It's interesting because I mean, I want to talk to the attorneys that are doing kind of the same things you're doing, but they're also practicing
Mhm.
law because it's got the billable hour. And an interesting fact is, and the one that always stops attorneys cold when I share it is the average lawyer bills 2.6 hours out of every 8 hour workday. That's only a 33% of the day actually generating revenue. The rest non-billable, administrative overhead. What's your thoughts on how can they improve that so they can actually be, generating more revenues and enjoying their lives?
Right? I mean, that's why attorneys have to work so much, right? I mean, you can't just work an 8 hour day if you're only billing 2.6 of those. So there's a lot of long days because you're trying to get your billable hours up. I would say the biggest favor they can probably do for themselves is to lean into accepting and asking for support. And even though on the front end, that might feel like it's a lot of work, it might feel like a loss of control, it might feel um, like it'll slow things down. But, a month into it, it'll probably be the biggest favor they've ever done for themselves.
Essentially, you've been around since the beginning, so you've seen well over 2,000 law firms spin up and start with Amada. Many of them are still with Amada. And some have closed their shops, have joined other firms, and some have actually expanded and grown and just kind of moved on because they got so big take a full floor within a building now. What's maybe one or two things on those successful ones that really have had the breakthrough moment where they started as one or two people and moved up to 50, 60, 70 people? What's unique about them? What can be one characteristic that you can point out that says, yeah, there was no question, they're going to be successful?
I mean, my perspective might not be the same as a lot of people, but I would say that the majority of the people that you bump into from that firm, no matter the position, were kind and they were friendly and they were willing to work through things together as a partnership. That goes far. And I would say that it was probably led by an attorney that understood the business side of running a firm and what that would entail.
I was thinking when I was asking that question, I was thinking of Roy Davis.
I love Roy Davis.
Remember Roy?
Loved Roy.
I bet that's been 10, 12, 15 years ago since Roy retired. But what a nice, super successful, built a good sized firm. Offices in DC, Peoria, started out of Peoria, Chicago.
Yep.
Nicest man, you're right. You look
Davis
at the
and Campbell.
characteristics of what you see with those, they're very, very nice. I remember, Chris Espricht, another one that when he joined us, he had left Kirkland and Ellis and then went and spun up his own firm and it's doing amazing. But the one he always heard him telling his attorneys were there's no reason not to be nice when you're talking to someone.
Right. Well, it's like in sales, people will say people buy from people they like.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's just about sales. I mean, that's just human nature. You want to be kind to people and you want that kindness in return. And once you can build that relationship, even that's not to say that people don't have their days and there's not going to be situations where maybe somebody might lose their cool a little or there might be frustration shown. I get that. I do that. But that's why you have the relationships and that's why you try to lead with kindness, because when you have those moments, then they're forgiven pretty quickly and everybody can keep moving forward. It doesn't stop where you're at. It's not like the relationship is based on that kind of an interaction.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about burnout. I mean, burnout's pretty big in the industry. You've seen it. You've seen a lot of people quit the industry, stop being lawyers and go do other things. What's give us some tidbits of how you might tell someone that's thinking about right now, gosh, this is really hard. What would you say to them?
I would say, I bet it is. I bet it is really hard. I mean, it's a demanding business. Not everybody's, it's like, everybody says if owning a company were easy, everyone would do it. I mean, that could probably be safe for being an attorney as well. If it were easy to get the degree to start with and then to do it, everybody would do it. It's hard. It asks a lot of you. I think that I would probably try to tell people that the best things they can do for themselves is to acknowledge the burnout and then figure out what kind of responsible boundaries they can put into place that obviously are not going to impede their need for billable hours or to meet the goals that they've set for their business, or if they're not, if they're working for someone else, what's been set for them. But there are things that you can do to kind of control the burnout. And we all face that. You have to be able to kind of set some boundaries and say, okay, I'm going to still be successful, but to have that success, I need these things in my personal life.
Right. What are you thinking about AI? Where do you see that? You got some insight on where that's going to take us?
Okay, I have a degree in journalism. So this is the thing with AI, which I know is like the basic level of AI, right? I'm leaning in pretty heavily, and I have a love-hate relationship because as I put in messages or, stuff that I'm creating and say, what do you think, AI? How does this sound? And they redo it. I feel my writing might be getting better, and I also might be losing some brain cells. But
it's funny. I was having lunch with a banker yesterday, and he was talking about a young analyst. I think the analyst he told me was 25 years old. And he says he's actually a really good analyst. He's a horrible writer, just horrible. And so the banker said, look, use AI when you're writing things because your writing's horrendous.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I go to that point. Let's talk to that. I mean, our young people losing their ability to write?
Probably. I mean, if I had that tool when I was going through J school, oh, that's a whole different thing. But for people who are just using it, either their writing is truncated because it's texting and it's not full sentences and there's no punctuation, or it's AI enhanced. So yeah, it takes out some of the thinking, but it's hard for me to say, okay, that's just how it is. But the world is changing.
Oh,
I remember when, I mean, this is just about our kids, but we found out that some of our kids were dyslexic, and I was so worried about their future. What is this going to mean? I mean, if they have trouble reading and they can't write well, what's going to happen? And I remember teachers saying, there's computers for that. And that's exactly what it is. So in some ways, maybe this levels the playing field and lets true intelligence come through. It certainly can help people be a lot more efficient at things. I mean, if probably everybody should invest in a class on how to use AI and then go much deeper into it than, how's my grammar? Because AI can be really running part of their business for them.
absolutely.
And it is a love hate. I hate that for new kids coming out of school, entry level positions. I mean, it's going to make people realize that the human connection and the jobs where people touch people are always going to be important. AI can't do that. And so, that's what people are going to have to need to focus on in the careers they want, is how their role is still going to be either client facing or doing it in a way that the human connection matters.
I reflect back, I don't know, 10 years ago when, maybe 15 years ago, when a couple of our kids, I learned that they weren't going to teach cursive writing anymore. And I was just beyond myself. I couldn't even imagine. Why would you not teach us how you sign your name? And now I have, we have a lot of kids that don't write cursive at all. And I'm wondering if what's next, because with AI, a lot of things are going to change of what you're going to be learning in school. And I agree, you got to have some kind of an AI class of how do I use it to my advantage, but still maintain my skills. I'm wondering where that's going to see it. I'm wondering how it's going to change the legal industry.
I mean, maintain your skills and your integrity,
Right.
because, you can't have, as far as school goes, you can't turn in an AI paper and say it's your work.
Yeah.
For the legal industry, I think that a lot of the repetitive documents that are being produced out there can be done much faster now. And information can be imported into them very quickly without the human touch. So that'll be a change. Research can change through AI. It's never not going to need to be checked, though, right? In the legal community, you can't just say, well, AI did that. So attorneys know somebody still has to look over it and make sure the information's good. As far as what's taught, I think that, the classical education schools that our kids went to, and they did all learn cursive, but that's just because we switched schools, I think. But, the schools that have really been proud of not having too much tech in their classrooms are probably going to need to rethink that to some extent, because while kids still need, I also feel though like critical thinking's taking a real hit in a lot of ways with this. And so people are going to have to figure out how to teach critical thinking skills and the ability to work through processes on your own, but then use the tools that are available to you to help you reach the end.
Kind of take it back to HR. Let's talk about an attorney. A solo attorney comes to you tomorrow and says, Rebecca, I'm ready to hire my first person. Where do I start? What's the first thing you tell them?
To find a PEO or another group to partner with to help with the process.
Don't do it.
Honestly, you need to find if you can find someone where it's a co-employment kind of a thing and you really have to do very little. At the very least, get yourself a really good payroll company that's going to take care of the basics with taxes, and there's no need for anybody to sit around and try to figure that out themselves. It's really affordable to have a company to partner with. And so you're going to want to do that. And depending on the type of law you practice, attorney, I would say not to assume that you know everything about employment law, unless that's your specialty, and maybe brush up a little just in case. just in case you're old school and things have changed.
We had Gary Savine on the show not too long ago, and that's one thing. He works with law firms as they're starting to hire, from the day they hire their first employee to the time they get their 50th. So there's definitely resources out there you need to call on.
I listened to that podcast, and I've not met Gary, but now I want to. It was a good one. It was a good one.
Great attorney. Quick stat, nearly 45% of lawyers say they can't disconnect from work, and burnout is reported by attorneys 40% of the time. The ones who build sustainable firms are the ones who figure out people and support system early, which is the perfect place to close. You've built your career around people. What's the one thing you know about people now that you wish you'd known 25 years ago?
Oh, I don't think much has changed. I think at the core, people want to help people, and people want to do right by people. I guess maybe 25 years ago, I wish I would have known to lean more heavily into people's potential and what they want to do and what they're capable of, rather than maybe what they're sitting in front of me with the task or role of doing. That people's abilities go much deeper than maybe the job they're hired for today. And that's what we need to figure out and tap into for everybody's benefit.
Okay. We're going to close it up. I'm going to give you the last word. Thoughts you want to leave our listeners to and get ready for the next show?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of thoughts, except for that I'm excited to do this. I've watched you or listened to you do a lot of podcasts from the side. So I think this is going to be fun. On to the next venture. Let's do it.
All right. And we're going to call you RB. Is that, that's going to be your title?
That's fine.
All right. Great to have you. So welcome as co-host. It's going to be fun. We got a lot of shows coming up. Stay tuned. Our next show, actually, RB and I will be breaking down the use of an executive assistant. One of the biggest things we've seen is the average attorney out there can use an executive assistant for about 20 to 40 hours a month. But yet a lot of times they'll go try to hire a full-time person and they quit because they get bored. So we're going to break down how to onboard an executive assistant, train them, develop them, and you get the best use out of that executive assistant. So it's a successful relationship for the attorney and the executive assistant.
Can't wait.
All right. That's all we have for you today. If today's conversation got you thinking about your own practice, I hope you'll take one idea and put it to work this week. And if you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with a colleague who would use it. The 1958 Lawyer is brought to you by Amata Law Office Suites. For more than 30 years, Amata has helped law firms of all sizes do more with less. Build on our 4 pillars: fractional support staff, virtual office options, office space, and a legal community. Whether you're a solo practitioner just starting out or an established firm looking to right-size your overhead, Amata gives you the infrastructure of a big firm without the big price tag. Learn more at Amata Corp, AMATACORP.com. Until next time, keep building.
Thanks for listening to the 1958 Lawyer. If you like the show, tell a friend, and please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to hear more about Ron, Rebecca, or Amata, go to amataoffices.com. That's amataoffices.com. All the links are also in the show notes.